everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the negative aspects of biofuels. So just like we did with fossil fuels, we need to break it apart into two different sections: the obtaining the actual fuel source and then combusting it, so setting it on fire. So let's start off at the very beginning with biofuels. So when we talk about biofuels, we need to discuss deforestation. So we're going to start off like this. So in order to do this, what we have to do is knock off an entire section of land and just clear it. So we're wiping it down, we're destroying all the trees, cutting them all down, and leveling out this level of land. So now, the reason this is negative is twofold. The first part is that when we knock down the trees, inherently, we're increasing the number of carbon dioxide molecules in the atmosphere, because all of those trees can no longer take the carbon dioxide and convert it to oxygen for us. So that's a negative. But the second, which is probably even worse, is that these rainforests that we're clearing out, there are certain indigenous people that 100% survive on these rainforests, so off of that land. So when we go in there and clear it out, we are putting their entire livelihood at risk. It is a major social issue, something that we definitely need to take seriously. All right, so now let's just pretend that we've moved past that issue and we've actually cleared out the land, and now we're ready to actually create our farm. So when we do this, especially when we're talking about something like ethanol, we need to plant tons and tons of corn in order to ferment that grain and convert it to the alcohol. So in order to do that, we need to plant the grain, we need to take care of it, we need to water it, we need to make sure that it's receiving enough sunlight, and we want to encourage it to grow up to be this big, healthy plant. But in order to do that, we immediately introduce three main types of chemicals: pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. And the second you do that, you put your water and soil at risk for contamination. And now we can see in the past couple of years, we've definitely seen a number of cases where people who live in that environment or near those farms are having adverse health effects. So it's another thing we need to take seriously. Number 3, we need to talk about our food supply. So especially when we're talking about the ethanol and how it comes from corn, corn is something we actually eat here as humans in America. And so what we're going to see, and what we've already seen, is a significant increase in the price of corn. And so way back in the day, so when I was like 16, 17, we used to be able to buy corn for maybe 10 or so per dollar. Again, I'm from the north, and so it's a little bit cheaper out there. But now when I go to H-E-B down here in Austin, it's maybe 2 or 3 for $1, which in my mind is just outrageous. That's a crazy price, even though I know that's like 30 cents, 50 cents, whatever it is. It's not that big of a deal. But we are going to steadily see, as consumers, an increase in our food products, the price of our food. And so that's another thing we need to think of. All right, the last thing that we always end on when we're talking about these sources of energy is that we are setting them on fire. And so by definition, we're having a combustion reaction, and we are inherently releasing carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, which we know is a very bad greenhouse gas. It absorbs infrared radiation and heats our planet, resulting in the enhanced greenhouse effect. But here is the only silver lining. If we are to set off our fossil fuels, so if we combust them, they actually release significantly more carbon dioxide into the environment than ethanol does. But what's really neat is that is actually significantly more than when you set biodiesel on fire. So biodiesel actually releases the least amount of carbon dioxide. So it's really not that bad, relatively, as a source of fuel. So that's kind of interesting. All right, so last thing before we end this video: are biofuels, in your opinion, better for our environment, comparing them to fossil fuels? So we're looking at renewable versus non-renewable. What do you think? Did you get an answer? Hopefully you did, and the correct answer is yes. Biofuels are definitely better for our environment. They burn cleaner, so they release less carbon monoxide. We are just now learning in relation to each other, they release less carbon dioxide, and they're something that is considered a renewable energy source. So we can continue to grow crops, continue to grow corn year after year after year, where we do not simply have the time to create fossil fuels in our lifetime. Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Drink water.